This will be an unusual version of Monday morning in that we're going to start off by giving you a version of the president's speech just now at Charlie Kirk's memorial service. If you listen to the whole thing, maybe you want to skip ahead and go to the next section of this YouTube video, but maybe you want to hear it again. Maybe you want to hear because it is important. It's important to what's going to happen tomorrow and next week. It's important to what's going to happen to next year. It's important to what's going to happen with the national mood, the mood of optimism, the mood of loving as opposed to hating, the mood of acknowledging Christ, the mood of moving ahead as opposed to continuing to fight the way we've been fighting. Anyway, let me get to the president's words. Thank you to Mario Knopfel for writing these things down. It says that we lost a giant of his generation. America's a nation in grief, a nation in shock, and a nation in mourning. Less than 2 weeks ago, our country was robbed of one of the brightest lights of the time, a giant of his generation, and above all, a devoted patriot. Charles James Kirk was heinously murdered by a radicalized, cold-blooded monster for speaking the truth that was in his heart. While Charlie has been reunited with his creator in heaven, his voice on earth will echo through the generation. His name will live forever in the eternal chronicles of America's greatest patriots. He will live forever. To Charlie's incredible and beautiful widow, Erica, we know the weight of this monumental loss is almost unbearable. What was even more important to Charlie than politics or service? It was his choice that he made in the 5th grade when he was called the most important decision of his life. He made the decision to become a Christian and a follower of his Savior, Jesus Christ. Then, with $1,800 in a dream, Charlie built a movement. He devoted his life to converting young people to the conservative cause. How did he do it? Take a look. How did he do it? In 2012, 2 days after graduating from high school with just $1,800 in his pocket, a young man from Illinois who no one had ever heard of started an organization whose grand ambition was captured in its name, Turning Point USA. Charlie Kirk was driven by purpose, not money. For 5 years, he refused to take a paycheck, but day after day, he worked from 5 a.m. in the morning until 11 p.m. at night. His staff remembers that he wore Walmart jeans and T-shirts from the Goodwill store. It wasn't easy, but Charlie wasn't in it for the money at all. Never has been. Money was never his thing. He was always in it for the mission. Who does that sound like? Charlie outworked the radical left lunatics until his last breath. The left, I call it the radical left. Sometimes I call it the radical left lunatics, but Charlie didn't say that. He called it the left. He was probably right, but I can't help it. So he said the left, the radical left lunatics, may have all the money in the world, but they can never outwork me. I'll wake up as early as I need to. I will stay up as late as I need to, and I will never stop fighting for our country. And he did this till his dying breath. That's what he was doing. Think of it. Charlie helped build the hottest country in the world. Remember when Republican presidential candidates would only get 4% of the youth vote? We did unbelievably with young people, and he was the big factor. Unbelievable, but he made me work for it. Sir Charlie would say, you have to make a speech here. You have to make a speech there. But we did it, and we won, and our country is doing unbelievably well now. We had a country that was dead 1 year ago, and now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world, and Charlie helped us make it that. So that was the speech from the president. Elon Musk was at the memorial also. Elon Musk and the president of the United States shook hands, seemed to enjoy telling each other a few jokes and providing some time of refreshment between them. That can only be a good thing for the president, a good thing for Elon Musk, a good thing for the country, a good thing for the world, and a good thing ultimately for those of you who are loving to follow Musk and Trump and believe that everything, including our future finances, will be better off if Trump and Musk like each other and get along and work towards things together. Elon Musk was said in an interview, he said that Charlie was killed because he was showing people the light and he was killed by the darkness. I'm praying that Elon Musk will accept Christ as his Lord. That would be one more amazing breakthrough miracle coming as a result of this tragedy. He certainly has had an opportunity today to hear the gospel, and maybe he'll pick up the ball. Sawyer Merritt, on a completely different note, Sawyer Merritt says, after doing some more digging, I think the news piece that I shared yesterday is partially incorrect in its conclusions. He does not give Warren Redlich any credit for having pointed out that it might have been wrong. And Warren put up a video this morning talking about the NISTA material that I shared with you yesterday, that Sawyer Merritt had shared yesterday. So I would have, if I was Sawyer Merritt, I would have said, I realized after seeing what Warren said, okay, so the June 13th and September 4th NISTA announcements do indicate that NISTA is modifying specific standards to better align with ADS vehicles, especially ones without manual controls. While this is a sign that they're moving toward more flexible performance-oriented regulation, I wouldn't label this as a wholesale performance standard, and so my post from yesterday has been deleted. The NISTA, in my opinion, will eventually move towards a more performance-oriented regulatory landscape, but they aren't there yet. They haven't said that they're replacing all design-based FMVSS, okay, with outcomes-only standards. They're still using these FMVSS, still granting exemptions under Part 55, and still planning rulemakings to amend existing standards rather than entirely new performance-based ones. I do think the recent announcements from NISTA are great news, though. Safety standards have long needed to be modernized, and I think we finally are starting to see that happen. Sean Duffy, U.S. Transportation Secretary, seems supportive of the industry and AV technology, and it won't hurt if Elon Musk and the president are speaking again. Also from Sawyer Merritt, this is the big news of the day. Tesla has just made a huge update to the U.S. website. Tesla now says you only need to order by September 30th to take advantage of the federal EV credit. Now, this is big news, only that it makes it official and on the website. We've known now for, I think, a month or longer, that maybe it's been 3 weeks, that the IRS had made the rules clear that you only needed to place your order by September 30th. Some people are saying that you do, on a lease, you do have to purchase by September, take delivery by September 30th. I'm not sure if that's true or not. But anyway, we've known this for a long time, but now they're advertising it, which is good. Sawyer goes on, this means the vehicle doesn't have to be delivered by September 30th as long as you place the order by that date. So while the federal EV credit still ends, the new flexibility and eligibility, anyway, this change comes after the IRS updated its language. All right, this is Randy Kirk, by the way, you knew that. All three major indices closed at record highs on Friday. Record highs, all three on Friday. I don't know how many that is now for the S&P. I want to say it's getting close to 30. And that was led by the NASDAQ composite, which had its second consecutive weekly gain of more than 2% per week. Market Watch says, and by the way, the early showing, we'll talk in detail in a minute, a little bit off, but not much. And I think this whole thing today with Charlie Kirk's a memorial service, I think it's a positive thing. I think it's going to be positive for the market. Market Watch says we have earnings expectations for 2025 and 2026 have been on the rise. We have to have the earnings build in, have to come in order to okay. So the PE of the entire S&P now is very high. If the earnings come in and hit numbers that make that realistic and then give good guidance, then the PEs can stay up at these numbers. And that's, of course, what I'm expecting to happen. He says, but Market Watch says, but even more promising for the near-term outlook, analysts have continued to raise their expectations for the third quarter. This is unusual, according to John Butters, senior earnings analyst at FactSet. Wall Street analysts typically trim their forecast for the current quarter as time passes, but they're actually increasing. When we see expectations moving higher during the quarter, I tend to think that's a good indication that analysts are getting good information, says Jay Love, U.S. Chief Investment Strategist at Mercer, during an interview with MarketWatch. If earnings per share for the S&P 500 hits $67.77 for the third quarter, as analysts currently expect, it would represent a year-over-year growth rate of 7.7%. That would be the slowest quarter-over-quarter growth rate since the first quarter of 2024. Butters noted in a report shared with MarketWatch, but it would still be the 9th straight quarter of earnings growth. Earnings expectations aren't exactly evenly distributed across the indices' members, but as has been the case since the bull market began, the technology stocks, particularly members of the Magnificent Seven, are expected to account for the bulk of profit growth realized by S&P 500 firms. Analysts have raised their profit expectations for information technology companies much more aggressively than the other sectors. Economic growth expectations defy labor market slowdown. It isn't just earnings forecasts. Expectations for third quarter GDP growth have been climbing too. According to the Atlanta Fed's GDP Now model, we're at 3.3 for the third quarter. That's compared with 2.3 where they were predicting in late July. Digging into the Atlanta Fed's model, Pepperstone's Brown said strong data on consumer spending, most notably a report on retail sales that came in hotter than expected last week, have helped boost expectations. So too did a report from the Philadelphia Fed on manufacturing activity in the region and another data showing growth in production. Are they going to leave out capital spending? That was up 10%. A jump in weekly jobless claims raised some concerns early this month, although it didn't stop stocks from closing at record highs on the date that was released. But the latest reading, published last Thursday, shows the number of people who applied for unemployment benefits in the 7 days ending September 13th retreated back to normal, 231, from a revised 264 in the prior week. This helped to rebut some of the more alarmist takes on the state of the labor market. Brown said, although investors are eagerly awaiting the next monthly report from labor a week from Friday, Labor Department, to learn whether the pace of job creation continues slow in September, the unemployment rate has also ticked a little higher over the last few months from 4.1 to 4.3. All right, what's happening this week? Well, first of all, every person in the Fed, I think all 19, are speaking this week. At least that's how it looks. I'm not going to go down the list, but 5 of them are speaking on Monday, and that's all that's happening on Monday. There's no other news on Monday. Then on Tuesday, 3 more of them are speaking, and we have the S&P Flash U.S. Services PMI and the S&P Flash U.S. Manufacturing PMI. And both of those are expected to tick down a bit. So we were at 54.5 last month on services. They're thinking that comes down a tad to 53.8, and manufacturing from 53 to 51.5. That doesn't seem to be what we're hearing elsewhere, but we'll see. New home sales last month, 652. They're thinking that drops a little bit to 650, and that'll be on Wednesday, and that's the only reporting on Wednesday, plus another speech by a Fed person. And then on Thursday, we get more speeches by Federal Reserve people, and we get the initial jobless claims, and they're thinking that'll pop up a little bit to 235. The GOP estimate for the second quarter, which, you get 3 of these estimates once each month after the quarter ends. That was 3.3 last time. It is expected to be 3.3 yet again. And then we get the advanced U.S. trade balance in goods. That'll be interesting. They're not making a guess on that. The advanced retail inventories and the advanced wholesale inventories, which you know how much I care about. But we need to know those because in order to figure out GDP, you got to add and subtract various inventories. Durable goods orders are also expected on Thursday. Last month, down 2.8. This month, they're thinking they'll be down another 0.5%. And then durable goods minus transportation last month was up 1.1, and they're not guessing on that one. Then we have more speakers, and more speakers. And then we have the existing home sales. Remember, we just had new home sales a minute ago. They're thinking existing home sales also ticked down a bit from 4.01 million to 3.95 million. That's an annualized basis, obviously, not per month. And yeah, it's possible that that's going to happen, although there's been some indications that that might be going the other way. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Then the big numbers. Everybody's waiting all week for these numbers, so it's probably going to cause the market to be a little, I don't know. I don't think this is going to be a big deal because I think that it's neutral enough, and that nobody's going to be expecting a big change from these numbers compared to the expectations, because these numbers, you can kind of take the numbers from the CPI, PPI, and other things and kind of figure these numbers out, but not perfectly, but close. So what we got here is last month, personal income was up 0.4%. I mean, personal income has been up month after month after month, much higher than expected. They're thinking it won't be as much, only 0.3%. That would be interesting. That is, we'd love to see it stay up at, around 0.4, 0.5%. That would be better. Personal spending outstripping personal income. They think that last month was 0.5. They think it stays around 0.5. Then you got the index, the PCE headline number. Last month was 0.2. They're thinking that pops up to 0.3. I don't think it will, but we'll see. They think year over year will go up a tiny bit from 2.6 to 2.7. Then we get to the most important, according to this current Fed, the number that Powell cares about the most is the core PCE index, which last month went up 0.3%. And they think that's going to actually come down to 0.2. And they think that the core PCE year over year is going to stay flat at 2.9. So you can see where, given that that's what the expectations are, if that happens, everybody would be happy. Consumer sentiment comes in as well. This is what they call the final consumer sentiment number after the other one that they do halfway through the month. And this one is at 55.4. They're thinking it doesn't change. I think it's one of the least important things that we're looking at right now, but we will still report on it in detail. Then we've got the what do you want to call it? The Truflation numbers at 218 on the overnight, 1.78 year over year, and 2.57 on the PCE, all of which are lower than what we're hearing from the government statistics. All right. So what's happening with the markets right now? We have got the Dow Jones down 0.13%, the S&P down 0.1%, and the NASDAQ down 0.06%. So these are pretty darn close to flat. We have got the we've got the bonds down 2%. 0.2%. They earlier were down 0.6%. So you don't want that, but that would put them at 4.137. And remember, I've said 4.15 is it. It's not going to go back over 4.15. In fact, I think it will drift down. And so looking forward to that starting tomorrow, because I love being right. And I've been right about bonds twice now, so I want to be right a third time. Oil is up a tad, 14 cents, 62.82, and natural gas up 1.35%, still under $3, $2.93. Gold says drifting higher, but drifting higher, 0.51%. So that's a 0.5%. 37.2480, and silver going up much more than that, 1.35% to 43.53. Multiple articles saying silver is going to be the hot bet for the next little while. I'm not taking no bets, no expectations. I'm not making a call. Copper is up 0.33 at 459. Now, here's where I continue to believe copper will drift up and has been drifting up. I don't think we're anywhere near the high on copper yet. The dollar is mixed. Of course it is. We've got the Bitcoin down 502 at 115.3. So that run that we were seeing it making last week, that I was expecting maybe to continue, that isn't happening. All right, what have I got for you later today? we still have time. We still have stuff coming up tonight. Okay. So I've got a really, really good program planned for you tonight at 7:45. That program will include part 3 of my 3-part thing on Elon Musk, because understanding Elon is going to help you understand Tesla, is going to help you understand everything about why you're invested in Tesla. And what we're talking about is curiosity. We're talking about, I'm sorry, we're talking about, yeah, cat. It spells cat. Do you remember what they are? That's what they were so clever, because they're all similar. We have tenacity and we have audacity. That's it. So we've done a curiosity last night. We did Audacity this morning. I'm going to put the card up for the Audacity one right here. If you want to go back and see that, tonight on the program, we're going to deal with tenacity. You probably already know that he is tenacious, but what we're going to do is we're going to have him tell you in his own words how he sees that superpower, that ability to be as tenacious as he is. All right, but that's just part of the show tonight. There will be much more. It will be very, very interesting, I promise you. So come on back and see that later tonight. I think that's all I've got for you right now on a day that will be remembered by most of us for many, many years. And rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. You're a good man. You're a good man. And that's all I got for you right now.